Hey everybody, this is Jason Alba from Jibber Jobber and Pluralsight author and all that stuff. I'm here with my friend across the pond, Jamie Mcguire. Say hi, Jamie.
Hey everybody.
So Jamie is a Pluralsight author also, and so we communicate on Twitter and on a Slack channel. And really cool guy. Been really impressed with a lot of the stuff he does, and he's fun, and he has a cooler accent than I do. And didn't you used to have a really long beard?
I did. I shaved it just for the occasion, Jason. I trimmed it down a bit, made a little bit of an effort.
I don't think you understand how cool long beards are. I had a beard. It was 2 or 3 inches long, and I hated every second of it. But your beard was really cool. So anyways, Jamie, tell us, I want to learn more. Learn and share with people. Who are you? Like, what do you do? And what you have fingers in multiple places. Like, tell us about you.
Yeah, so ultimately I am a developer by trade, right? I've been developing software for quite a few decades now. It's just something that's in my DNA. Started off building web apps and websites and software.
Wait. I was on your website on the about page. You didn't start off building web apps. You were a kid. You were a kid with those old dinosaur computers. Like, I was reading it, I was like, man, this guy could have gone either way. He could have been like a crazy hacker taking down the world. Yeah. So you've been a techie. Like, were you teased as a kid? Were you like a nerdy geeky, or
Well, see, that's a really good point. I never told anybody because I used to be so embarrassed about the fact that I used to code.
That's awesome.
But this was back in the 80s, right? So it was a thing that nobody was really doing where I grew up. So that was just my thing.
That is awesome. And you ran this huge bulletin board?
Yeah, I used to.
As a kid, right?
Yeah. I basically cobbled together this thing, and I basically ran this bulletin board over remember the old modems, 33 or 36K?
Yeah, I would make the noise, but it's too early in the mic. It's horrible. Yeah, I remember the modems.
Yeah, you know it, man. You know it. So I basically hacked together the ASCII graphics, and I placed it in an old Amiga magazine called Amiga Format, right? And this was pre-internet boom, right? Well, mainstream internet boom.
Yeah.
And people just started to dial into it, man. And I think I had like 80 registered users, and there was a mail network at the time, like a precursor to email. It was called FidoNet, and you would send a message, and it would take like days for all the messages to be pushed around the globe. But that was I ran that for a few years, and then that was kind of like the start of the whole online thing for me.
That's awesome. So you placed an ad in the magazine. Did you pay for that?
No, it was a free ad. So it was literally you could send it was a letter in. Like, you could post a note or whatever and say, listen, if you have a bulletin board, fill out this form. Send it. And it was in the back of the magazines, and that was literally it. Because if you can imagine back in the day, trying to find stuff, it was literally a magazine. You got the news agents. And you would, look at the back, and you would basically dial in. And at the time, right, Jason, I never knew what these phone numbers were. And so I had no appreciation for the cost, right? So what ended up happening was that I was dialing these international bulletin boards. And so the phone, to cut a long story short, right, I wasn't even dead at home, right? So I got myself a part-time job, and I basically got my own phone line installed. And I ran this thing 24/7, and that was the start of it, really.
That's awesome.
I went on to like college and all that sort of thing, and done computing, and that's how it went.
I wrote a tweet a few days ago. I said, I woke up, and I literally did. I woke up thinking, what if we're 2021? What if there was no internet, right? What if there was no email? Maybe there was phones, but they weren't connected in the way we have them now, like with maps. And you're out somewhere, you're like, I'm hungry, or I need a gas station, and you just go to your phone for this connectivity. And I was thinking about growing up in the 80s, and I was like, we didn't have any of that stuff back then. You just kind of figured it out and stuff. And And anyways, it was just kind of blew my mind to think, what if that's what it was like today? Because we can't heat up a burrito in the microwave without Googling it. Like, how do I heat up a burrito in the microwave? Like, everything we do is somehow connected to information that we get from online. So it's kind of fun to hear your story. How old were you? I mean, I'm sure this was over years, but when you were you 15 when all this was happening, or 12, or?
Yeah, I think I was about 14 or 15. I was about 14 or 15, and I only got like a 2 or 3 year run of it, because obviously, as you're growing up, you discover other interests. And but then, the thing that really changed it all was, those AOL discs.
Yeah.
It was like a lottery draw that would get posted through, and if you got one of them, it was like, and that was the kind of start of the demise of that whole kind of era. And and it was totally random. It was a zip code, postcode lottery type thing, and if you got one, like, you were online for a fixed fee each month, and it was the World Wide Web. Obviously, that's what that gave you access to. All right, in a little bit of a walled garden within the AOL interface. And that was.
But you didn't know that. You didn't know it. You were just so thrilled to be online, right?
Oh, hey, yeah. At the time, you never knew that. So you were just happy to be online, and you never had to pay, per minute. And that was what put the last few nails in the coffin for that whole scene, in my opinion. But hey, like, some people still run these bulletin board things, man.
Yeah.
Via Telnet, don't they? So it's still a bit of a thing.
All right, so let's fast forward to when it started, right? So what is this, like, after college and professionally when you started doing web stuff?
Yeah, so here's the funny thing, right? At school, I was told I never had the grades to do computing or CS, right? And they wanted to get me to like a factory, and no harm me, like manufacturing and all that sort of stuff, but I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I was about 17. And
all right, hold on, sorry. I guess I'm gonna pause you a lot. So at school, I was the dumb kid. All the teachers, I mean, I was a goof off and a little bit of a class clown. And I just knew I was destined to be the dumb kid with never making it in life at all. But what I found out later was I was actually really bored. I wasn't dumb. I was just smart enough that I was like, all right, I get it. Let's have fun now. What is that similar to your experience? Because you obviously are smart.
It's I think it was just it was a few things. I think that the teachers were cool, but I just don't think they had the resources. And I think looking back, maybe I just knew, like, from a really early age, when I got that first computer and I could build stuff out of the only limits really were what you could think about, And I thought, this is it. I was like 8 or 9. I was like, this is it, building stuff. So anyway, all through school, that was the vision. I was like, I want to get one of these things. I want to do this as a living. It was a hobby. And I remember leaving school. I said, I'm going to college for like another 2 or 3 years. I want to get this diploma in software engineering. And I think at the time the teachers were like, okay, son, right? And because the last couple of years I just disengaged. I was like, I'm never going to use half this stuff in the real world. I was trying to correlate what I was learning to earning, right? And I was like, trigonometry is not going to, and maybe about, and being able to remember dates and the whole rote thing. And I thought,
yeah.
So it was that, and then the thing was, though, I had to do an extra year at the college because I never got some of the grades, you see. And when I went, so I basically done 3 years instead of 2, and that got me the diploma, and then I got an advanced entry into a university to get the degree in CS. But then I never finished the degree, right? Huh. I was too distracted by living life.
So you're one of those failures that start school like Gates and Zuckerberg.
Almost.
Never finished.
But not quite at that level. But never say never. So I thought, I took a year out and I tried to get employment in IT. Couldn't get it. Nobody would touch me. And this was around about the time of the .com bubble had bust. Around about 2000, 2001. So it was hard to get work, and people were looking for graduates. And I was like, man, I need to go back and get this degree. And here's the kicker, right? So I had 3 months left to get the degree in CS, software engineering, and I got offered an interview with a company that I had tried out with or had applied for throughout that whole period of a year of looking for work. And I went, right, okay, so I'll never forget it. It was a Wednesday. I had a 3-hour project management lecture. I ditched it. I had my suit and a backpack, and I get the train. It was like a 70-mile trip. And I went for a day-long interview with 15 other people. And there were 3 jobs, and got one of the jobs, but it was an apprenticeship, right? And so the salary wasn't the best, but that gave me my break, and I ended up moving away, ditched the degree for the second time, right?
Wow, that's
and
awesome.
I just thought, well, the experience is going to be more important than the piece of paper, and I get the 2 years experience, and that was me.
Yeah.
That was pretty much the start of it, 2001, 2002.
That's cool. That's awesome. Let's see. You are heavily involved, I think, in the AI space.
Yeah. So there's a bit of a theme here. I ended up going back to school again, right? But by this point, right, I was I built loads of software like for health systems, and I'd been with a startup for a couple of years, and then by this point I'm 10 years in, and then I joined a consultancy, and around about this point I thought I'd like to at least get these last few bits of qualification just for maybe later on in life, and so I did a master's and outside of work. Employer paid for it, which was really good of them. Took 3 years, and first 2 years.
Your employer paid. You didn't quit on them, did you? Didn't.
No,
you actually
no.
finished your master's.
I did. Well, I had to, because if I never finished the masters, I was going to have to pay it back. So there was a massive incentive, right? It cost me thousands of pounds. So the first 2 years of that were all right. It was like stuff that I kind of, having had by this point 10, 15 years experience, it was kind of stuff that
knew it.
Yeah, but year 3, right, I had to do this year-long project, and a topic of any interest of mine. And ultimately, what I'd done was I picked a thought, right, I'm either going to build an HL7 interface to parse medical records, or I'm going to look at parsing out social data. And this was around about 2013, 2014. And I built an API that I could point at streams of data and surface keywords and sentiment and all that sort of stuff. And that took me down the AI path, right? Or to be more specific, that took me down to the machine learning route of AI, text analytics, Bayesian theorem, and all that sort of fun stuff. Worked on that for a whole year, done the paper, built the API, I basically put a Windows app front end, a WinForms app on the front end of it, to act as the front end as the API. And I got some decent results with it, and that was the starting point for the AI path. So that was back in 2013, 2014. Sat on that for a while, had some personal stuff going on with my family, and then there was an initiative with Twitter, and they were launching a new developer ads API ecosystem, and I started to join a few dots, and that was when other things started to happen. I started to blog about text analytics. I started to write about it, experiment more. Microsoft Azure Cognitive Services started to really flash up on my radar, because to do what I'd done, I went through quite a lot of pain to get to that point. And getting the keywords, getting the sentiment, building up the training data, cleansing it, removing stop words. And then here were these bunch of services that you could literally just pull off the shelf. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, this is pretty cool. Because then what that means is I don't have to be so focused on this tiny little splice of it, because that's just one part of a product. And there's a whole workflow that goes around that. There's other things that don't involve AI or ML or text analytics that you need to build in order to add value. So that all these thoughts were, it's been a long journey, Jason, man, right?
Oh yeah.
But that was kind of like the inception point for the AI sort of stuff. And then that just started to grow. So that's a kind of insight into how we got started with the ML and AI type thing.
Yeah. Hey, let's pause here real quick. I've been in the computer space for a long time. I was a developer last century in the 1900s. Yeah, it was in the 1900s. I was a programmer. Define for me from your perspective, because I'll talk to different people and ask them what is artificial intelligence and what is machine learning, and I get different answers, right? And sometimes it's ambiguous, like, what is it? And it's like, well, it's kind of like this, and I'm like, well, that sounds like that. And so from your perspective, having worked in the space for a while, how would you define AI and machine learning, and how would you differentiate? Like, they're very interconnected. So how would you define them, and how would you differentiate them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So what I would say is AI is all encompassing, but within AI you get different silos. So you might have deep learning or neural networks, or you might have, and that can branch out even further because they can be applied in different contexts. Where in the machine learning aspect, or to be more specific, like the text analytics aspect, was that is a machine. So Bayesian theorem, which is what I was using, is it can be applied to machine learning use cases in the sense that you have to source your training data or examples of information that you want to classify, and then you need to use, cleanse that and process that, and then use that against incoming data that doesn't belong to your data set. And then what happens is over time you can, say it's incoming data comes in, the classifier got that right or it got it wrong, and then you can label your information in such a way that you can push stuff up or push stuff down in that classification, and you can, almost like a dial. So AI all encompassing, machine learning about using data to make decisions and arrive at probabilities in light of new information. What's the algo? Is it the probability of A given B? That's the kind of the overarching theme of Bayesian theorem. And it's what happens in light of this new information that I've just got to the data that I've already just processed. But there's so many different areas. AI is just like the whole encompassing thing, but it does get broken down into the different silos.
Love it. Awesome. Cool. So before we go more technical, I want to talk about you volunteer. You have a link that says volunteer. And so there's two things you had on your volunteer page. When people cite me, they're like, "Hey, remember when you said this?" And I'm like, "No, I don't remember that." So I'll tell you, man, I'm gonna spoon feed you this one. So on your website, it says volunteer, and it says that you are a STEM ambassador and you volunteer at Code Club. Yeah. So tell me about that. I mean, these are what young 10 to 15-year-old kids.
It's basically government initiatives and charities. And it's basically about getting helping people out and making STEM more accessible. And I also do through the MVP program, there's the community type activities. So it's all about so a few weeks ago actually, because of the whole COVID thing, right? Some of the local schools were struggling to basically to accelerate their online learning experience. So I had basically a couple of few remote sessions with them and say, listen, you got the licensing, you got the tooling, here's how you could best use this. So it's all about, just helping people or helping, stuff and around the community who want to get into STEM. And that's the Code Club, as the name suggests, is literally about helping kids to code. But that is taking a bit of a hit with everything that's going on. Yeah, it's just too difficult to do stuff like that right now. But with the actual schooling, the lessons or the lesson planning, there's certainly stuff that can be, or certainly software that can be used to help do that. Whether it's Teams or Zoom or whatever else. Yeah, so that's what those initiatives are about.
So were you like sitting down with kids before COVID, before quarantine? Were you actually in classrooms and showing kids how to program?
No, I wasn't not right now. But that's the whole kind of idea behind it. But for right now, I've been having to do it remotely, just purely because of the situation.
Yeah.
And then the other side to it is supporting basically the teachers. You know, I get kids at school, so it's in my interest if they can. So the other thing is time as well. There's only 24 hours in a day.
Absolutely. Well, it's cool. It's cool that you can volunteer though, and share. I think teachers are probably a little bit nervous about asking someone like you with your experience, and like, you know, if you were to charge a dollarly rate, it'd be outside of their reach completely. But it's really cool that you can come in and help set up environments and help them understand how they can best, teach and communicate with the kids and stuff like that. So, all right, let's jump over Social Opinion. This is a product that you have created, and it's just for Twitter?
Right now, yes.
Okay.
Under the hood, it does have some other integrations, but right now, front-facing is Twitter.
All right, so give us a high level. What is it? Who should use it? Why would we use it?
So, in a nutshell, it is a social media analytics and power user platform that helps people save time, discover new content or audiences, and it also has got tools in there to help people grow and maintain their Twitter account, built on .NET and all that sort of fun stuff. And it helps people save time, identify sales leads, marketers to identify the most or worst performing content, and all that sort of fun stuff.
All right, so give me some examples of some of the stuff you just said, like how am I saving time or how am I identifying content?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different there's a bunch of different features in the product. So there is a social listening module, so you can supply criteria and drill down really into the weeds of what the conversations that are happening on Twitter at any given time. The product's got a querying language you can set up, and it will run and collect those tweets 24/7. And that way, what that lets you do is basically you've got an agent on autopilot that will grab information that you care about and then display it in dashboards, aggregate it, and make it easy for you to find what is out there. So that's what is being discussed. And then the other side to that is like who is discussing it. So there's a set of features that let you drill down into the audiences that are forming that discussion. And then if you want to, you can then if you're a brand, you can then start to engage the audiences that are talking about, say, your brand or your product or your service, and then chime into the discussion. So marketers can use that to give them a quick litmus test on how stuff's performing. And that can save time in terms of research. And then for other users, the tweet scheduling feature is really proven to be really popular because content creators can batch up and schedule their tweets. Should I share my screen actually? Because it might be.
Yeah. Let me pop that over here real quick.
Yeah, I'll. It might be. Yeah. I've just looked at the social listening and then who's discussing it, and then there's analytics that identify your most popular content, whether it be how many impressions, retweets, or profile clicks your content resulted in. So effectively, conversions. You can search through your followers.
Can I manage my followers?
Let me have a think. There are features under the hood to let you do that. They just haven't been exposed through the front end. So one feature that's being increasingly asked for is the option to bulk add your search results and your followers to lists. So that would then let you segment your audience, your followers based on the particular interests. So you can search on followers based on the username, the description, or the location, all the things that they're talking about.
So one of the problems I have with my followers, I have a bunch of followers from I don't know, like 2009, 2011. They're not relevant. A lot of them aren't around anymore, but I have them. and I've tried to go through on Twitter. I have to go into my profile, click on followers, and then I scroll down page by page, and I literally could take a half an hour of just paging down before I get to that older batch of followers from a long time ago, and then I delete them one by one. And I know there's other apps out there that I could get, but can I delete? Can I go through easily and look at and delete followers from whenever?
So you can certainly right now you can search them. The API will support that. I just don't have a button on the front end that lets you unfollow. There is because the first incarnation of this was a Windows application, and it did have an option to do a bulk unfollow. It also had a feature that let you do a find inactive after X amount of days. And it's actually on Gumroad, right? It's like $10 or $20, and it's but you need a developer API and key. And what I've learned through that was that, and that was a quick and dirty app, right? People have bought it and paid for it though. But a barrier to that was the requirement of having a developer key, which can take weeks. And if you're not a developer, you don't want to be hacking about a config.
Oh, you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to start repackaging and repurposing some of that functionality and jumping it or putting it into the web app. Cool. So so that can be supported. It's just not there at the minute. You can search for your tweets. So you might be creating, if you're a content creator, you can search all the tweets that you've sent, and you can sort by the number of impressions, likes, and all that sort of thing. You can even cleanse your account by deleting, low quality tweets or low value tweets.
There's some people who should go back and delete some of their stuff. I just read in the news about a new editor or whatever her title was, and she got beat up from some really old tweets, and she got let go. Like, she had her job for a few days, I guess. This is really cool because there's been times where I'll start my day and I'm like, oh, I want to refer to, or somebody asks a question. I'm like, oh yeah, I tweeted this and I had some meaty information, whether it was a link or steps or something. And then I find I'll get on my own thread on Twitter, on the homepage of Twitter, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go find this. And I'm like, page down, page down, page down. And after a while, I'm like, forget it. I can't remember. I'll just try and make it up again.
And you know what? That's why this is one of the sole features of the sole purposes of this feature is to, because you don't always remember your most performing or your top performing content, right?
Yeah.
And that gives you a quick way to search for that. And then you might be a content creator, so it can start to get the creative juices flowing. If you need more inspiration, there is a scheduler, so you can schedule your tweets, and that's been a massive time saver. And a customer actually said to me that the scheduler has stopped him from doom scrolling. So what he does is, he batches up his tweets and he doesn't look at the app, because he just sets them all up for the week. And because he had a habit of just, he was telling me, just scrolling through his phone and just totally in consuming mode rather than So that's something that I had never even considered. So that is that. There's some other stuff under the hood. There's an up and coming feature, and this is the development site at the minute. So I'm a bit itchy about this. So we'll see. I'm doing it live. But when you log in, you'll get, you can pick off your reporting period. Let's just point into the development database at the minute. You can look at your key analytics. You could, see where there was a spike. You can click on that bar chart, that part of the bar chart, and be taken to the retweets for that day. And that will tell you, what caused that spike, what content you were sharing. You can see how your follower growth has been improving or decreasing.
If I sign up for this today, do I get follower growth from the beginning of my time or from today?
You get it from today. So okay. There's some of the metrics that just aren't available. They happen cumulatively day by day. But when you first log in, it grabs I think it's your last 100 tweets, just to give you something to go on. And then with your followers, it will grab all of your followers. Depending on how big your follower count is, it could take, half an hour, 20 minutes, but it will grab an initial bunch. Your top repliers. So this lets you know who likes to keep the conversation going and who you might want to keep engaging with. Keep to build your relationships. Your top trend tweets sorted by impressions, that's different from the search screen. So the tweet audit over here has the option for you to search, which is we spoke about earlier on. Here we can search our followers. You can see if we open up another tab, you have the option to see all of the replies that you've received. So that's an audit of every reply that you've received. We've got the scheduler.
Hey, why don't you go search me so we can see what you see when you're looking at a follower?
Sure. So
I'm Jason Alba with no spaces or underscores or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There you go. There you are.
So location, followers, following. And you got more information about me than I do. You're like the government. You're like the government agency of Twitter.
The NSA of Twitter.
And then can you drill down and obviously it'll go to my profile, but can you drill down and see anything specific about me?
From here, no. You can sort. It could be added though, right? I mean, anything that's on Twitter can be ingested and viewed in here, or business rules can be coded around. So
could you? And I know we're talking like product roadmap stuff also, and I'm not quizzing you down on how good your stuff is. I think this is awesome. I'm just curious about using this myself. Mm-hmm. Could you search on just my tweets?
Yes, that's possible. It's possible, but it's just not been built into the front end. Because there are API calls that I can use by passing in the screen name to grab your publicly available tweets.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I like that.
What you might be interested in, right? See, now that you've mentioned that, okay. So, and this is a preview, right? Yep. There is an audience or follower intelligence module being built right now, right? So you're getting a sneak peek here, Jason, and whoever else is in. I've opened another tab, so you can see here, right? This is just a test database at the minute, right? So it's only got like a few hundred tweets in it, right?
Okay.
That is still being built out, but here are for my developer account, here are the main products and organizations that my followers are discussing right now for my development account, right? So if I hover over here, my followers, I've mentioned Twitter 20 times as a product, Android twice, JavaScript once, Motorola, right? Azure has been mentioned once, and then down here we can see when they're active.
And then you can drill down on those and see them.
Yeah, so you could, it's still in flight at the minute, right, in development, but you could hover over here and you will be able to click on each cell and say, oh, by the way, a lot of people were discussing content or discussing these topics between 10 and 11 o'clock. So if you were a marketer, you might say, hold up, my audience or my followers are really active at this time or that time.
Oh.
Right, get it?
So then you can either tweet then or like an hour before then, half an hour before then, right before they're all active. That's awesome.
You got it. And so if you combine the intelligence from the audience insights with the scheduler that sets up your scheduled tweets. So here is here are the global settings for the tweet scheduler. You can come in and set up your new posting times to correlate with the times and places, or the time zones that your followers are active. So you can come in here and say, well, between 10 and 11, people are talking a lot about, Twitter or Android or JavaScript. You can say, well, between 10 and 11, I am going to create a new time slot, right? It's hard to see because of the StreamYard pop-up, but so I could say add a new posting time at, say, 22:19. That would create a row in there. I would then come in to the tweet scheduler, right? So you can see the workflow.
Yeah.
And it's all about, and this lets you better serve your audience or your tribe or your followers. So you can then come in and start to quickly key in your tweets based on the time zones that you've set up. And it's like, well, I know that people are talking about Android or JavaScript between 10 and 11, so I'm really going to focus. I'm going to double down on that content for those particular times. So a lot of power there in terms of understanding your audience and when to best speak to them.
Love it. I love it. So one of my businesses is Jibber Jobber is a CRM for job seekers. And so I'm interested in when people are like, they would say something about job search or certain phrases around job search, right? So I would basically set up, is it a campaign that I would set up where I would search for?
Yeah. So just to add context, that if you want to just do, cast out a net and see whoever is talking about job searches or this or that, you would come in and you would create a campaign. I won't go through it all, but you'd supply your criteria and your phrases, save it. It would go and do its thing. Tell it how many tweets you want to grab. It will do that for you. Then when you get your tweets, and the tweets are refreshed in real time, this dashboard gets populated, right? So you can see here, you get an overview that 210 tweets were processed as a result of this hashtag. And then you get some high level insights, most likes, comments, and retweets. You can then see the things that are being discussed, the links, and it's heavily Twitter right now. You can then get some more information about who's doing the talking, any places that were identified, organizations. Domains and entities and annotations are really interesting because, and I'll just quickly open some of these. And I'll also open up these as well, right? I should have started off with these, right? So here, we've got all of the tweets that people are talking about with the Twitter API. So my campaign's set to track all these. I might want to contact the person just by clicking on their link, go straight to their profile. And I might want to go straight to the tweet that person was talking about with my keyword. And there's loads there, right? So like I'm building.
So just real quick from here, I'm not liking or retweeting or commenting from here. I have to go into the tweet.
That's right. Yeah. Right now,
that's all right.
Yeah, it would open a new tab and then you'll get taken to the tweet, right? So that is the content that's forming the public conversation around your campaign keywords, okay? So, and then this is who is forming the conversation around, or the users that have been identified as part of this conversation. So there's like 18 users, it's 18 pages and 177 users generating 200 plus tweets based on Twitter API.
And then I can click on the followers link and that'll reorder it so I can see who has bigger audiences.
Yeah, you can sort. So you could see followers. Yeah, so you can see here. Well, surprise, Twitter. They're talking about Twitter API.
I love their location.
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? Home. So you could then, and then what we kind of touched on earlier was around being able to segment users. So you could then start to build up your own bespoke lists. That's a feature that some people are asking for. So is the ability to, at any point throughout the app, say, I would like to bulk add these user accounts to a dynamic list. And that list would be pushed up to your account on Twitter as well as in here. So that's pretty useful from an audience management and discovery and content discovery perspective, based on the stuff that you care about. And then here, we can see what are called annotations. So this is under the hood. It's got an ML model to identify the probability that a product that was called Twitter was mentioned, and that's the frequency that this product was mentioned in the tweets in your campaign. I mean, it's all Twitter right now.
Cool.
Because it's literally, and there's a bunch of others. There's a whole load of insights. You can even query based on the kind of type of topics being discussed, tech, data science. This is like a lookup. So these are like the higher level topics with a person being discussed, a brand, blah blah blah. So there's loads more to go at, loads more, but I'll stop there.
Yeah, love it. Can you go back to the pricing page so I can see? Well, some of the pricing and the features, just to kind of noodle on that.
Sure.
And you've made all this by yourself, right? You don't have a team?
Yeah, evenings and weekends, dude. It's been so many years in development, though, various iterations, as you can expect.
Sure.
It started with that API, but this is the sort of price point. There was a free model, but we've had to drop that. So there's something for everybody, really. People or independents can get started with the entry level. Basic might be like a solopreneur, independents, and then so to the left it's mainly B2C, but as you get further to the right, it'd be B2B.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. This is cool. I'm gonna dig in more because as you were showing me some of these features, I was like, oh man, I'm doing some of this stuff manually, which I don't hate. Like I enjoy learning and stuff, but I'm not getting like aggregates and analytic type stuff. I'm just getting like a gut feel based on what I'm seeing. I think it'd be interesting to, I'm going to say the wrong word here, but spy on some of the other people in my space and see what's happening. And just like, who's really making noise about certain topics or product names or phrases or whatever. I think that is really interesting. And then the ability to look at that and see, okay, so this person is really active. They only have 200 followers. So I like them and I'll engage with them. But this other person has like 20,000 followers. And so that's somebody who I want to have them evangelize or help influence their audience on my stuff and develop a relationship there. So I see a lot of value in this. I'm going to spend some time digging around and sign up. So man, Jamie, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun learning about you. It's been really cool learning about your business and what this is. But I think that everybody will agree that the coolest part is just listening to your accent. I could just kind of sit back and coast and just like, this is pretty cool, man. So,
yeah, there's a bit of Sean Connery there, isn't there?
Yeah, when I first started Jibber Jobber back in 2006, I launched on a Saturday. And on Monday, my first competitor launched. Like we had no idea. And our products were very, very similar. I was on the phone with him about 6 months later, and he said, when you launched, I ran around my office saying, who gave Jason Alba the plans to our product? Because he made what we came out with 2 days later, right? Our brains were just in sync, developing separately. But anyways, he was from England, and he had this rich, gorgeous accent. And I thought, I'm done. He's going to win because people with English accents win. So anyways, I'm still around. I'm still doing all right.
Yeah,
Jamie, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me, Jason. It's been awesome.
And hopefully people get on your site. Can you go back to the screen that has the URL because it has a .uk in it?
Yeah, I'll go to so it's literally socialopinion.co.uk.
.co.uk. Looks like a great product, and hopefully we'll get this in front of some people. And with that, I'm going to sign off. Jason Alba from Jibber Jobber and Jamie from Social Opinion. Thank you, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.